Hi everyone, and welcome to week 8. Well, thanks very much for everybody who is keeping on top of the sways and so on. Don't worry if there's a couple still to do. After this week, we have 2 further weeks of theory, and then it's just a data science project. So we're getting there. All right then. So today, dashboards and storytelling. Call it data storytelling for a reason. That's what we're doing. We always must remember the end user. It's very easy to get so tied up in your data analysis and make things so overly complicated. Remember back to lesson 1 when we looked at Chartio and their design considerations: clear, succinct, empowering. Always think about who we're doing this for. Okay, so we've got a little overview of data aggregation, beg your pardon, extracting meaning from a visualization, a little breakdown of dashboard considerations, and then I'll find a little Power BI dashboard online for you to have a look at and analyse. I've got an overview of pivot tables, and then a fantastic little exercise here from this Leila Garani, and I'll go through that in a wee minute for you. Okie doke. So, what do we mean? Data aggregation. One of the really powerful things, particularly with Power BI, is being able to join data sets together. So we rarely just use one data set. We're joining tables together. We're creating insights based on 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever data sets we put together. And as it's put there, the benefits: improved analysis, obviously, increased accuracy. The more data we're looking at, as long as it's done properly, more accurate the results at the end. Better insights and improved visualization. I'll let you read through that, see what you think. Okay, so extract meaning. So look at the axis, look at the type of visualization. Within Power BI, as you know, as you saw when we went through the introduction to Power BI, there are a myriad of different visualizations available, and they all have different elements within it. Obviously, you've got your simple things like pie charts, donuts, and tree maps. And then when we're comparing one of sort of multiple categories together, we start moving on to bar column charts. If you're looking at data over time, things like a line chart would be more appropriate. So identify, look at the axis, check the title. I'll cover a little bit more about the titles in a wee minute, and draw conclusions, because otherwise, what's the point? As I said a minute ago, we're not doing this for us. You're not even doing it for me. You're doing it for the end user. The way I look at it, for those of you who are aware, my background, I did a bit of web design. One of the first meetings I would have with a new web design client would be, I'm not going to build you a website. And they'd be looking at you thinking, well, what are you doing here? No, I'm going to build your clients a website. Same here. We're not doing it for us. We're doing it for the end user. Always have that person in mind at the back, and you'll be good at this. Okay, so here's a little screenshot of quite a nice little dashboard. It's got a few different visualizations on it, and they've really thought about the consistency, the color choice, the headings, the titles, even putting a few little icons in there. It really just helps this end user know what they're on about. So, in brief, define your purpose. What's the point? What are you doing your investigation for? What is your analysis all about? Know your audience. If you're producing a set of dashboards for, say, school leavers, it's going to be a very different set of design considerations, and if you're doing it for the CEOs of a company. So think about that. End user. I know I'm repeating myself. Gather and prepare. Choose the appropriate visualizations. As I say, there are a myriad within there, and not all of them are appropriate for every use. Create a logical layout, use filters and interactivity, and going back to the heading of this lesson, storytelling. It's called data storytelling for a reason. The whole point of Power BI is it's such a visual animal that we are taking sometimes tens of thousands of rows of data and turning it into a cohesive, succinct, empowering set of visualizations. Maintain consistency in design. I would pick a couple of fonts, a couple of colours, and think about what you're doing. For example, if you were looking at, say, waste management or something renewable, think about your browns and your greens and use colours like that. Think about colours that work together. There are all sorts of things like Adobe Colour that you can go on and get colour schemes from and so on. Think about your consistency of title sizes, and I'll get to that in a wee minute. Your descriptive titles and labels. Power BI, in the same way as Excel Power Query, will guess at titles, and you'll see when you're going through them, they're not always user-friendly. Always think about rewriting your titles to see if it makes sense. Optimize for accessibility. We must always think about that these days. Not everybody has the same accessibility competence, or that they're not able to see what we can all see and so on. Make it as simple as you possibly can. This thing here, use alt text for images. All that means is, again, that's kind of a web design thing. If you're adding images in, which is a great idea, by the way, rather than just a whole load of charts, adding in images, little explanation text boxes and so on, all adds to it. But people who are partially sighted, they have screen readers and it reads out what's on there. If you're putting an image in, tag that image. So for instance, if the image is of, oh, I don't know, 2 women, because you're looking at the female gender pay gap, put that as the title of the image, and it really helps your accessibility. This, test and iterate. When we're doing a project, when we're doing any sort of data analysis, we're on top of it. We should ideally know our subject inside out. The person you're doing it for doesn't necessarily have that. Doesn't do any harm that if you've got a set of objectives for your dashboard design, get a few people to see if they can work it out for you. So in other words, if you're, if you say, for instance, you are looking at the financial sector and you're looking at finding the gender pay gap in the top end, ask somebody who has had nothing to do with that project to look at it. Can they find it? Is it straightforward? Doesn't do any harm at all. I used to do that a lot with websites. You wouldn't just ask other web designers, for instance, to go through your site. You would ask people who are similar to the end user to have a look through. And if they can find it, great. If they can't, you need to do something about it. What I've got here as well, some little examples here, this rigorous themes. That's where that screenshot came from up above. Look at other people's dashboards, get some ideas. Great way of doing it. Now, just to see if it all makes sense. Power BI a dashboard analysis exercise. There's a link there, link to a Power BI dashboard. It's not awful. It's one that's online, and I've got a few questions down here for you to get meaning from this dashboard. But look at this thing in red. You might not be able to find all those answers. And if so, why not? What would you improve about this dashboard? As I say, it's not dreadful. It's got 3 pages to it. You'll be able to get some of these answers, but you won't be able to find all of them. Just what would you improve on it? Pivot tables. Some of you may or may not have used pivot tables before within Excel. We've just got a little introduction to them here, but pivot tables are a great interactive way of just diving straight into data sets, moving a few bits and pieces around and getting some real insights from them. And you've got a starter file here, this pivot table starter file. Download that, stick it in your OneDrive, and then a fantastic 10-minute video from this woman here, Leila Garani. Probably pronounced that wrongly, but there we go. There are a myriad of tutorials online, but I've got 2 go-tos that I use a lot. One's Leila, another one is a gentleman called Kevin Stratvert. They tend to be between 5 and 10-minute videos, really succinct, to the point, and she explains it better than I possibly could. So take that start file in your OneDrive, have a little go through that. She's very, very good. And I would very much recommend following both her and Kevin Stratford, Stravert. Well worth having a look. All right, let me know how you get on with it. All the best. Cheers. Bye.